Yeah, Purva, thanks for joining us today for a close to with images retail. So, just to start with, I will want to know a little about the industry perspective. You're working closely with the industry. So, what are the top challenges that you have witnessed, which the supply chain is facing?
See, the topmost challenge, obviously, all the supply chains in the world are facing today have been the result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are now in a phase of post-pandemic effects for the supply chain like we have in human beings. So initially, obviously, there were lockdowns and disruptions. But now what has happened is that the supply chains have become very unbalanced. So one part of the world, for example, is having too many containers. The other part of the world is waiting to load them. There are ports which are right now choked because they cannot find enough space to park their vehicles to take the containers away. This is, of course, from a global perspective. From a domestic and an India perspective, again, we are seeing a huge surge in demand right now. And that is straining the supply chains in various ways. The current electricity crisis, in a way, are partly a supply chain crisis because you can haul only so much amount of coal from point A to point B, and your coal-fired plants obviously can run accordingly. So many of these effects today we are seeing in a way are positive one because they are showing a lot of demand recovery. So that way the industry is not really complaining of the current set of problems it is facing. Of course, it would want the supply chain bottlenecks to go away so that they can serve customers right.
Right. Of course. So you are helping a brand or a retailer end to end by controlling their supply chain and working at different stages of the supply chain. So tell us a little about your offerings, the Web Express offerings that's like cutting edge and helping the retailers.
So if you really say from retail point of view, there are fundamentally two parts of the supply chain. There is the inbound supply chain where a retailer typically outsources the kind of creation of the material. Let's say, for example, shirts or apparel or belts, etc. as the case maybe. What is retailing? Of course, we are talking about an apparel retailer. If it's a retailer in the area of, let's say, grocery, then he will be taking the sourcing of all the grains and other FMCG goods that he may get in. On the distribution side is where retailers are very large because your suppliers are typically few as compared to the number of distribution points you've got. So the retailers with whom we are working, and I'll take typically a case of apparel retailer. They have a lot of distribution issues. Some of them are recent because of the corona and induced problems that we just discussed. Some of them are long-term in nature. The very fact that you need to distribute to a country as large as India, right? Go to every nook and corner itself is a big challenge. How do I reach out to so many people in a profitable manner? Because I can always send a plane to, send one shirt from, let's say, Bangalore to Assam, but that's really going to bankrupt me in no time. So I have to optimize my costing versus my delivery and service level. What has also been witnessed in last 4 to 5 years, and I will say that will be the trend for next 10 years for retail, that retail is really going deep in India. These smaller cities and towns, which were once upon a time on the fringe of retail, are increasingly becoming the center point. At the same time, it is not that the metros are degrowing or something. Our metros are also expanding. So retailers today have a challenge. How do I make sure that I serve all my markets in a more cost-effective manner? Now, obviously, that leads to optimized logistics. And optimized logistics will mean that you need to have technology intervention to make sure that you are able to do a data-driven job rather than a more manual, gut-driven job which you were doing in past. That is the role we play as a supply chain technology company. So we kind of help them to, first of all, make everything visible. Where is your shipment? Which partner is carrying how much? Has it been delivered? Has it been delayed? Are all the aspects we help them to kind of monitor using our technology. The next level we go for them is saying that which partner you should go for. This partner is very expensive for Assam, but he's very good for, let's say, Kerala. Why don't you choose a different partner for Assam? That way, making sure that the right partner is working on the right part of your supply chain. That is the second thing that we bring to the table. Over time, we collect all this data, and with the help of data science tools such as machine learning and artificial intelligence, you are able to create patterns and saying, okay, in monsoon, you should be doing something like this. But as you approach Diwali, you should be doing something different. Typically, you have a demand variation, as we all know, even in a normal year. This year, of course, is abnormal, where you have a demand continuously going up from June. Otherwise, usually June to September, the demand is low. Then obviously the festival season comes, your demand kind of goes up. So the tool is helping our customers to decide things in a much more data-driven, intelligent way rather than what used to be a much more manual and a gut-driven way. I will kind of put that as that way in a nutshell.
Right, of course. So you say you're making the latest innovations accessible and economical. So how are you making that possible? Tell us a little about that.
See, I'll come to the economical part of it first, and that kind of leads you to the accessible also. The advent of cloud computing, especially, has made a lot of things economical. Let me take again the example of machine learning. It is not that the artificial intelligence and machine learning are available only in last 4 or 5 years. They were available to companies who really wanted to use them, but they to really use very expensive software, very expensive hardware, and at the same time, people who are very rarely available to you. That made it uneconomical for smaller number of companies or smaller size companies. Let's see, if you're a defense department, if you are India's military, you had all the tools and the money at your disposal to do really, really cutting edge stuff. And that's why militaries of the world always have been very, very cutting edge, because budget is never an issue with them, relatively speaking. Now, democratization of that has happened because of the cloud computing coming in. And Amazon or a Microsoft Azure makes these tools available to literally a school student. If they want to use them, of course, they need to know how to do it. And which is where we have seen a large number of people have gathered, come into this particular stream to learn these tools. Overall, the economics of all these things have been lowered on the hardware side, on the application side, and also on the people side. So companies like us are leveraging that revolution. They are taking all these things put together, putting it on the cloud, and then asking people to pay as per their size. So for example, if I have one customer who has got 10,000 transactions, he will pay me more as compared to another customer who is having, let's say, 1,000 transactions. Make it very, very economical for each of them, because the 10,000 guy finds it worth it and the 1,000 guy finds it worth it as well. And both of them are paying as per the size of their companies. Now, this has also made it very accessible. Once the cloud is available, it's open to all. You can be on cloud sitting as a company in, let's say, Bengaluru, a very cutting edge company. You can be a company who is in Agra and can be also accessing the same cloud in the same set of tools. So in a way, cloud has been the main reason because of which both the economics as well as the accessibility of these solutions have really been made available to a mass market.
Right, right. And what about the innovation part?
So the innovation part is somewhere, of course, each company comes in, a company like ours come in. Now, innovation, let me also share, is also related to how much you know about a domain. And the expertise we bring to the table is our knowledge of the domain. If you understand the ground level problem better, then your innovation will be well directed. Otherwise, you may come up with a very good and innovative idea in your mind, but something which the market or the ground level is not accepting or is not able to execute. So what WebExpress has been doing is using the cutting edge technology, made economical, like we just discussed, with the help of cloud, but applying the deep domain expertise it has collected over so many customers over so many years. We have very strong roots in domestic market like India and also many emerging markets, where we understand the problems are very differently solved as compared to, let's say, a US market or a UK market will be. And that is the differentiator we bring to the table to our customers. A retailer in India very well understands that the behavior of the consumer in India is very different from the same retailer, let's say, going to a Zara shop in Europe, right? And that point of time, you need to really bring into the tools and the innovation which are relevant to you. So we, of course, are also investing into a lot of human, power. While the technology will do its job, ultimately it is the people who go to the ground, make sense of it, right? Analyze the problem and feed that information for an, let's say, a machine learning algorithm to make sense of it. So our investment has been in all of them, both people, the technology part of it, and as well as the domain level understanding.
So Apurva, tell us, how are you eyeing the future, and how do you plan to kind of innovate further to help the retailers solve the problems of the supply chain?
So I will say that, the innovation part is continuous and you learn from your customers all the time. So it's an incremental approach for sure. At the same time, there are some big trends which are coming our way. One of the trends, of course, has been the emergence of what we call as IoT, right? The Internet of Things. How do I get more real-time data from ground? So we are working with one of the IoT partners, whereby we can measure not only the location of a particular cargo, but also the health of it. What do we mean by health? What is the humidity level around that cargo, for example? What is the pressure in that particular vehicle? Why will you need to know about humidity and pressure? Anybody in the food supply chain will tell you these two are very, very important. Because if you don't know the humidity of the product, right, then if the humidity is very high and you're not keeping it dry enough, then it is going to get spoiled. Now, this information was available to you post facto, as I call it. Once the entire cargo is reached a point, let's say some spoilage happens, somebody will investigate and find out that information. Now you can get real-time data by putting a device of the size of maybe a slightly larger than your, air conditioner remote, and thereby getting this data in real time and anywhere in the world, in fact, wherever it is going, because you have global SIM cards available which can push data to you from country A, country B, country C. So we are now trying to combine many such IoT revolutions. Secondly, as the 5G revolution will roll out, it will take a few years in India, but it's already rolled out, let's say, in countries like Japan, countries like USA, etc. You will have much more data bandwidth available to take data from many, many such sensors, and the economics of such sensors will come down. Today, very specialized people will use such a sensor. It may cost you 3 to 4,000 rupees. But what if it costs you 30 rupees? Now that is what is going to happen over next few, I'll say, years, because mass market consumption of such sensors will happen because of 5G. You've seen the drop in the price of your Fitbit or Fitbit equivalent smartwatch, I'll say. Fitbit is a very expensive brand, as we all know, but there are so many other brands which are available, which probably do a decent job, but at a probably 1/4 or even 1/10 price sometimes. Why? Because mass market adopted those IoT sensors in your wrist, right? And all the data is going to the cloud. So that example is right in front of you. Amazingly, what humans have been able to do as individual, companies are a little lagging behind. And I see there's a lot of innovation bandwidth left in that area, and we really intend to make most of it.
Amazing, amazing. So from that point, as a passing thought, do you want to share some tips or action points for the retailers, which they can work on to make their supply chain more agile and efficient and robust?
The first things that retailers have to obviously do is put supply chain at the center of everything. This is not to say that retailers never understood the importance of supply chain. They always did, because they are highly distribution oriented companies, correct? But at the same time, the product, the placement, the marketing, etc., took probably much more bandwidth. Thanks to, or very maybe thanks is not the right word, because of the corona-led disruption, the retailers and every industry for that matter suddenly found that supply chain is something which has to be at the center of everything, right? So that point of time, it is required today for the retailer to kind of invest into supply chain at a centerpiece of whatever they are doing. They need to keep on doing what we call as pilots, right? For example, I want to invest into 5G. I don't need to go and invest across my country in all my shops. I will probably take 2 and see what I can do. I want to invest into sensors. I will go and invest into a few locations and see how I can do the same. And they can always use help of startups for doing it. There are always startups around, companies like us and many other innovative companies today who are wanting to do some new things and experiment around certain business problems. And frankly, I will say some of the people whom we know, customers whom we know, are already doing it. They are in a way having an entire ecosystem of startups working with them, kind of giving them some business, giving them some exposure, and thereby getting a lot of learning done. I think that is something, if a large number of retailers adopt, that will be the way to go.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. So
Sure.
I hope Web Express does some amazing work in the time to come. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Arunima.